Hey, got out the light reflecting off the top of my head there. Um, been working hard outside. Right now, we're actually going through the beginnings of the singularity as far as what percentage that we're in a singularity. A singularity is just a fancy way of saying that all of humanity, really, at different stages, faster, obviously so, in Australia and Canada and New Zealand, and it certainly is no coincidence that those are crown countries, are passing through the eye of a needle. It's an old saying, adapt or perish. It is the case. And all of us are going to have to adapt our way through the eye of a needle. And it is a singularity. All governments, and I have no interest in politics, okay? If you think I'm discussing politics, you're just flat out wrong. You don't know me at all. I believe in freedom. If you think that is centered around any one particular thing, it kind of is, but I'm not interested in that. But all governments have gone full throttle lying. There are, here in the United States, 3 levels of government. There's the actual government that the people vote for. Excuse me laughing right there. There is actually a deep state. That's not conspiratorial to actually say that. There is a shadow government. That's not fringe or tinfoil hat nonsense. There absolutely is a shadow gov. It's run by the MIC, military industrial complex, run by the cabal, and it's run by the bankers. I got new news out of Britain, another crown country. The source of the crown countries, right? They're calling it the Britcoin. Apparently it's going to go into effect in 2030. The Chancellor of the Exchequer, there in the UK, was talking about it. Remember just like 2 years ago, everybody said, oh, that's just tinfoil hat crazy. There's not going to be any sort of central bank CBDC. And it's been confirmed in many countless countries, including the United States. It's like, yeah, we're working on it. We're just discussing it right now. Well, no, they're not. They're actually... But there's been confirmation not only in the UK, Australia. Some people in Australia that have sent me that information. One thing that every government, and they're going full throttle in the crown countries first, except for in the Netherlands. It seems to be going on faster there. Hearing from them, although we haven't heard anything out of there. They're still protesting. Seeing a lot of the protests going on in France. That the government, I don't know if you ever see this, they made a TV show around it, but also, too, there's a movie from the 80s. It's called The Dark Crystal. And it's Jim Henson and the Muppet folks. They're called podlings. They're kind of these people with glazed over eyes. Not people, they're like little beings. They kind of look like small little people. And they're basically prisoners. They don't have any, conventional visible prison, but they're in a prison. They're basically just brainwashed. And, they're brainwashed by fear and they're these entities in a tight circle, technically a cabal, that sap all the energy and the efforts of these things. They're called podlings. They're basically like glazed over, zombified slaves. And it's not my feeling or opinion or belief that, well, that of course is a TV show. Well, it was originally a movie, and then they made a series of TV shows out of it. That's what these entities are trying to create. They are. Anyway, everybody's has to pass through the eye of a needle. We are in a singularity. My neighbor across the street, who's German, he's now a German American. He's got dreadlocks, and I hadn't seen him in like a year. And he's married to the chick across the street. And first thing he mentions, I don't even bring up the topic. He starts bringing up the WEF, and he brings up the cabal, and he says, you know anything about this stuff? I said, are you kidding me? Are you absolutely kidding me? Of course, I know about it. Everybody I know, even if I know and bring up the topic, I don't bring up that topic with anybody. Everybody is talking about it, but nobody has a spine. Everybody is just this spineless D-bag. Everybody's de-evolving into that Jim Henson's type of character called a podling, glazed over eyes, just walking around in a stupor, feeling powerless. You have this many people that are controlling the will of this many people. Why is it this many people are letting this many people control them? It's because people are spineless, non-men. I know that's not really a word. It's just lack of testicular fortitude, spineless, wimpy, beta male, losers. I mean, they really are. I mean, look at me. I'm fat, and I'm mostly fat and tattoo ink, but I have way more spine than these younger people that are basically in perfect health. And it is really, really, really disgusting. I'm fat, bald, and, buried behind a computer too much, but I have way more spine. You should see me in action in person. I'm not talking about being physical or karate moves or nothing. You should see how I respond to tyranny in person. It would really, really shock you. It may not shock you, but I bet it would really shock a lot of you. I actually go full throttle in person when I see tyranny. I mean, I really do. Don't take my word for it. I mean, my word is, just as anybody's word, is completely meaningless and useless. I really do go full throttle and shock people. Here's the point. Anyway, all of us are passing through a singularity. We're about 30% of the way into it. It's evolving slowly. Here's the things that we're going to have to adapt or perish, and technically we have to avoid. There's 5 cabals that we have to avoid and navigate around, kind of like a speed bump, kind of like one of those dead raccoons you see in the road. You're like, I don't want to drive over that crap. We're going to have to avoid a medical cabal. There's a hideous medical/pharmaceutical cabal. Secondly, there's the banking/CBDC cabal. Everybody needs asset diversification. If you have all your money in your bank, you're just flat out being just hardcore stupid. Secondly, we have to avoid a food cabal. One of the best advice is kind of simple and divine, is that if it didn't exist 150 years ago, none of us should be eating it. I've lost 20 pounds. I mean, I'm still really fat, obviously. I've lost 20 pounds in the past, I don't know, a few weeks or so. I've gone mostly to meat and some other things, but all natural food. It's still just a drop in the bucket. I mean, I used to be really, really skinny, but we have to avoid that food cabal. We have to avoid a propaganda cabal, which is really hardcore. There's a lot of entities out there, and you know exactly who they are. I don't need to mention them. And we have to avoid a government cabal. So the 5 cabals we're going to have to steer around if you're going to pass through the singularity. You and your family. Medical cabal, the pharmaceutical entities trying to push garbage on you and me and everybody else. Banking, and they all work in unison. The propaganda cabal pushes the medical cabal, and vice versa. We got medical cabal, banking/CBDC, food cabal, propaganda, and the government one. Be debt-free. Best thing that can happen to you, no mortgage. Better to live in a dump that's paid for than a nice place with a mortgage. A lot of people don't get that. It's like, man, I could upgrade my house. I could afford that monthly payment. Yeah, but your current house is paid for. Yeah, my current house is a little dumpy. I think I can move to a better neighborhood. Good for you. You're better off staying in the house that's a little bit dumpy than the house that has a mortgage. And people don't get that. Here's some really horrific news. Personal savings, typically, over the past few decades, has been 8 to 10% normally. Savings during the past 3 years has been 30% because everybody's locked down. Now it's at 3%. Personal savings index. That is absolutely, it should scare the crap out of you. Fear, of course, is not something that's good. You should process the information. I don't literally mean be afraid, but it's something that... It's 3% personal savings index over typical 8 to 10% is getting really, really bad, really fast. There's a planned escalation to make all of this appear sourceless. In other words, you got this over here and this over here, and we can't point the finger at any one thing. But they're all being directed by these various entities. So here's something I read from somebody else. It's very accurate and kind of tells you what's up. When I was in elementary school, when they took silver out of our coins, fathers could support a family on under $10,000 a year. They kept the destruction at a slow pace until the late 1970s. Now we're in a second wave of destruction of money and suffering the stress that it puts on us. Absolutely correct. Academia has been invaded by collectivists and Borg-minded people. I'll let you take a euphemism on what collectivism means. It's big time on the school front. You used to be able to wave money at people to get things done. Now everybody's too lazy and nobody wants to work anymore. It's actually really bad. I was talking to a guy at Lowe's. He's in a wheelchair, and he was telling me how he replaced another guy who was reprimanded for following a thief around. The guy was trying to steal a shopping cart full of stuff at Lowe's, and he stuck up for the company. He was trying to stick up for protecting the company. He followed the thief around. The thief called up Lowe's corporate, the guy that stole the shopping cart full of stuff. He got the guy fired. So, think about that for a second. Anyway, tell me what you think. Believe it or not, I do read every comment. I actually do like reading your comments on this, and just realize this, okay?